Please watch as Immanuel Lutheran Church celebrates 150 years of faith, fellowship, and service. God with us by grace for 150 years. Shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Psalm 100, 1-2. For the Lord is good, and his love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations. Psalm 100, verse 5. For 150 years, Immanuel Lutheran Church has been a place where family, friends, and neighbors have gathered in Christian fellowship, guided by God's Word. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Romans 12, 11-12. On September 26, 1875, a number of German evangelical Lutheran Christians gathered in the district schoolhouse in Krogville, Wisconsin. The purpose of this meeting was to organize a German evangelical Lutheran congregation. The congregation was organized and a constitution was drawn up. There were 18 charter members. On January 16, 1876, the church council reported that the congregation in Waterloo, Wisconsin, recognized the newly organized congregation as a sister congregation and was willing to form a parish with them. When Pastor Martin Deniger of Waterloo, Wisconsin, came to serve a small group of German Lutheran Christians in the schoolhouse at Krogville on September 26, 1875, almost all of the people gathered there would have been considered poor by our present-day standards. They had no automobiles, electric lights, no gas furnace, no indoor plumbing. Travel was by horse. Nevertheless, if anyone had called these people poor to their faces, he would have been in trouble. Our forefathers, for the most part, considered themselves to be well off. They compared themselves not with the undreamed of standards of today, but with the standards of living which most of them have recently left behind in the old country. From this viewpoint, the tree-covered hills and fertile valleys of southern Wisconsin were paradise. The land had not been farmed out for centuries, and there was more of it. Farming was hard work, as it is to this day, but the early settlers were thankful to their God for the opportunity to build a home in this bountiful land. In 1879, Pastor J.J. Meyer accepted the call. In 1881, objections were raised by opponents of the congregation to use the Krogville schoolhouse as a place of worship. To avoid trouble, it was decided to conduct services at the schoolhouse on the Madison Road near the Bulkey Farm. In that same year, land was purchased on County Road BB and the first church was built. The total cost was $700.31. It is recorded by Pastor Meyer that the total offerings for 1884 was $17.66. The first two pastors who served the congregation, known from 1883 until around the turn of the century as First German Evangelical Lutheran Church at Town Deerfield, Dane County, Wisconsin, were pastors of what later on was known as St. John Evangelical Lutheran Church of Waterloo. When Pastor Meyer left in 1889, Pastor William Hagedorn of St. John Newville was asked to serve us with the gospel. In April of 1889, this led to the arrangement of the marriage of the two congregations into one parish. In 1892, Pastor Hagedorn was called from the church militant to the church triumphant. After the sudden death of Pastor Hagedorn, Pastor M.H. Pankow succeeded him. In 1893, Pastor Pankow asked for a release from St. John Newville and accepted a call to St. John's in Waterloo. However, he continued to serve Immanuel during this time. In 1893, an addition was added to the church. In 1895, a shed was built for the pastor's horse. In 1897, Pastor Pankow asked for a release. Pastor J.G. Geiger of Newville became the pastor of Immanuel in 1897. During his ministry, on January 9, 1900, after its first quarter century, the congregation joined what later on became known as Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod. In 1904, Pastor Geiger, like Pastor Hagedorn before him, was called from the church militant into the church triumphant while serving the joint parish. Pastor E. Herman came in 1904 and led the congregation with the building of a new church at a cost of $3,500. This is the present structure we are in today, which has served our congregation for over 120 years as a house of worship. During the construction of the new church, worship services were conducted in the Pullman barn. In 1908, Pastor Theodore Fink succeeded Pastor Herman. In 1914, the first English worship service was held on Good Friday. It was also decided to have one English service once a month for the rest of the year. In September of 1914, Pastor Fink resigned and Pastor A. Pankow from Cambridge served the congregation until January 1915. In 1915, Pastor Brackenbush accepted the call to serve. In 1919, the church bell was purchased and the Ladies' Aid was organized. In 1923, Pastor Brackenbush retired because of the language problem and because of his health no longer permitted him to take care of the entire parish. In a joint meeting with St. John Newville, Pastor Henning was called to be the pastor. In 1925, for the 50th anniversary, a new 2-manual Etsy organ was purchased. During Pastor Henning's ministry, electric lights were installed. Can you imagine an evening service without them? We are told that on Christmas Eve, one girl had a special job of sitting on the front pew and watch the real lighted candles ready to put out one that threatened to start a fire. In a joint meeting with St. John Newville, Pastor Walter Zank was called to serve. Prior to 1927, all Sunday services were held in the afternoon. This all changed when services began to be held on Sunday mornings. In 1935, the congregation observed its 60th anniversary. In 1941, the last regular German service was held. In 1950, new fixtures were installed, floors were refinished, and carpeted installed, and the congregation celebrated its 75th anniversary. In 1951, the cemetery was relinquished to the Cemetery Association. In 1955, members came to the Lord's Supper as a family. No longer were men on one side of the church and the women on the other. In 1957, seminary grad Henry Peter succeeded Pastor Zank. In 1958, the interior was redecorated, the exterior painted, and the altar was remodeled. A new organ was donated by Otto Feebox. Young People's Society was organized. In 1959, we stopped collecting offerings for communion. In 1961, the congregation adopted a new constitution, and the name was officially changed to Immanuel Evangelical Lutheran Church. Pastor Peter helped establish Lakeside Lutheran High School, which at the time was located in Fort Atkinson and later moved to Lake Mills. In 1962, Pastor Hamren Krause accepted the call to serve Immanuel and St. John Newville. In 1964 and 65, there was an addition to the basement, and bathrooms were added. The basement was also divided and paneled. In 1967, the parking lot was blacktopped. In 1973, Pastor Haig arrived from Grand Island, Nebraska. In preparation for the centennial anniversary, aluminum siding was added to the exterior in 1974. The centennial year began with 5 special services, and in 1977, we discontinued having a Mission Festival evening service. 1978, we canvassed Deerfield as part of our evangelism outreach. In 1979, we sponsored Yia Vang family from Laos. In also 1979, the Cottage Grove Mission opened. In 1980, the church interior was redecorated and carpeted, celebrating our 105th anniversary. In 1983, pledges for reaching out totaled $13,705, and in 1984, the maintenance fund in the Lakeside Lutheran Building Program reached $10,000. In 1985, Pastor Charlie Iles accepted the call to serve the dual parish. 1987, the American and church flags were purchased with monies from the Memorial Fund. In 1988, the Immanuel Lutheran Education Fund was established. In 1990, the church basement was repainted, and in 1992, the church parking lot was paved, and a permanent storage cabinet was built by Lim Holtzheuer. In 1995, the Lutheran hymnal was replaced with the new red hymnals, which were purchased with funds from the Memorial Fund. A new outdoor sign was installed, and a new organ was donated in memory of Elmer and Mildred Martin. In 1997, new boundary lines were established on the east side of the property, and a quitclaim deed was completed. In 1998, the kitchen was remodeled. New altar curtain was placed in memory of Helen Pullman. In 2000, Pastor Paul Brugge was called. Also in 2000, we celebrated our 125th anniversary. In 2001, the parking lot was resealed and some landscaping was done. Gravel was donated by Willer Holtzheuer. Also in 2001, wireless microphones were purchased. In 2002, the handicap lift was installed and the Shield Fund was established. In 2003, the Shield Farm was sold and started using individual cup for communion. New stairway to the basement and the entry closet were added. In 2003, new carpeting was installed in the hallway and the balcony. 2004, new windows were installed in the basement, and another wireless microphone was purchased. 2005, a new well was drilled. An electric piano was donated in memory of Margaret Zickery. In 2006, new addition with bathroom and a classroom was built. Also, a new furnace and a well pump was installed. Prior to this, we shared a well with the Pullman farm from across the road. In 2007, Pastor Paul Burke arrived to serve the joint congregations. In 2009, the Ladies' Aid meetings were suspended. In 2010, track lighting was installed in the chancel and insulation in the attic. New cement sidewalks, front step, and back pour pads were also installed. In 2011, storm windows for the stained glass were replaced. In 2013, new communionware, new sound system installed, and Fred Holtzheuer Veterans Fund was established. In 2014, Pastor Martin Stubbs accepted the call to serve. During this time, the church was closed for winter due to high prices of electricity and propane gas, and Immanuel began to worship at St. John's Newville during the winter months. During this difficult time, the dual parish with St. John Newville was dissolved. In 2016, Pastor Paul Shar accepted the call to serve as a retirement pastor. Padded chairs were donated in memory of Vernon and Leslie Zickert, and the church website was created. In 2018, the church exterior was repainted and a new asphalt parking lot was put in. In 2019, we purchased 20 EHV Bibles, and in 2020, Communion Cup receptacle was donated in memory of Jerome Beam. We also began streaming our services on YouTube. In 2021, the red hymnals were replaced with the new updated hymnals and psalters. 2022, lights were installed in the parking lot, and battery-operated candles replaced the oil-filled candles that were previously there. 2023, we saw extensive upgrade to the audio, visual, and recording equipment, and service bulletins were replaced with on-screen PowerPoint presentations. In 2024, we saw the complete restoration of the sanctuary and the balcony.